What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode we're returning to the manga Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt. Last time, Bianca was saved by Io and Atlas Gundam. He then went underwater and destroyed Grublo. Both Io and Bianca have the same love language, which is jazz. Also, Commander Humphreys believes that there is a spy on board the Spartan. This time, Daryl and his team sneak onto the oil rig where they think the Psycho Gundam is located. Io learns that Claudia is with the Nanyang Alliance, and they fight against goofs. So let's get into this. Daryl and Carla are frolicking in the grass and extracting honey from beehives. Then suddenly you learn that Carla is calling Daryl daddy, and she has regressed to a childlike state. They are playing into all of this so they could eventually get her to continue work on the reuse P device. So all of this is just fucked. Daryl goes out on a Jukan sub with the honey he and Carla got together. They launch from an underwater Dolos, acting as a hidden Zeon remnant base. They're heading towards the Nanyang Alliance territory. Meanwhile, the Alliance launches in the Goof riding on Dodais. The MS-07B Goof Thunderbolt version is a modified Goof used by the Nanyang Alliance. These Goofs were left behind by Zeon during the 1-year war. 2 fans have been added on the back to help in Earth's atmosphere. While engaging in aerial combat, it must rely on the Dodai. The flight unit can also transport ground troops. Weapons include the Dom Giant Bazooka, a 120mm machine gun, a shield, a heat saber, the Goof Custom Heat Rod, and a 3-barrel Gatling gun. Lieutenant Barkley and the G-Fighter Scout reports back to the Spartan regarding the Goofs. Captain Pike creates a perimeter around the Spartan consisting of shuttles, core fighters, and mobile suits. Pike mentions that the Nanyang Alliance is technically a part of the Federation, so he's letting them make the first move. The Gundam head team moves out to handle business. Gundam Atlas and Gun Cannon Aqua need 4 more days for repairs, so they aren't sortying. Io is getting antsy. Bianca and Io try to watch the battle from the Spartan. The Nanyang Alliance border guard contacts the Spartan claiming they are flying in sovereign airspace. The commander and the one broadcasting this message happens to be Claudia Pierre, both Io and Cornelius's old friend. Io beats up his own men. He says, "Let me at them." Cornelius tells Bianca that they thought she died in the Thunderbolt sector. Pike says their mission is to seek out Zeon remnants in this territory. They demand the Alliance helps the Federation and allows them to assume command in the territory. A Goof fires a warning shot. Too many Marauders have claimed to be the Federation, and they can't take any chances. Also, a warning shot is considered a use of deadly force. With the exception of the Coast Guard? Weird. They treat this as a violation on the Federation, but until they comply, the Nanyang Alliance will view them as pirates. Io launches in a gym with Bianca controlling the subflight system. Pike open fires. Everyone begins attacking. The Dodais fire chaff that messes with the sensors. This causes their perimeter units of shuttles and core fighters to become useless in battle. The chaff causes the snipers to not get a good hit. The Alliance was ready for this assault. One Goof rushes one of the Spartans' twin megaparticle cannons. Firing at point-blank range like this destroyed the twin particle cannon and did damage to the ship. Their pilots are sacrificing themselves. The Alliance pilots say, "Time to kill myself." Some rush the Spartan and try to board the ship. One Dodai tries to crash into one of the Gundam heads, when Io does a Char-style kick on the Dodai, making it crash into the water. He says, "Get your weird religion off my ship," and fires on a Goof. Then he takes off. The Gundam heads say, "Hey man, help us out." But Io says, "Hey man, you guys have the Gundam head. It is your job to draw out the enemy. I'm just gonna go do a gym thing over here. See you later." One Goof thinks it got away from the Gundam head, but then the gun tank rolls out and blows up a mobile suit. There are a lot of close-range explosions in this battle. Pike wonders why they are trying to board the ship with so little forces. Bianca tells Io she's either brainwashed or she's a true believer. Either way, we have to kill your ex-girlfriend. The South Seas Alliance soldiers move in on the ship. They place talismans all over the ship. One kamikazes, taking out 4 men and injuring 7 more. Pike realizes that they are trying to make contact with the spy on board the ship. Cornelius and some men are looking for the remaining soldiers. One is bloodied and on the brink of death when he meets with his contact and gives the man what looks like a small charm. The man then kills the Nanyang soldier to cover their tracks. Bianca knocks Io off the subflight system. Luckily, he was able to grab onto another one below him. They're fighting in thick fog. He takes it out and jumps back onto Bianca's subflight system. All that remains is Claudia's Dodai. He jumps on top. Io tells Claudia to say his name. One goof uses its heat rods to pull Io off the Dodai. Bianca goes to save the falling gem while the Dodai makes its escape. Claudia says that fighting Io is karma. They head into Humphrey's quarters. There is a talisman which says, "I shall return from the land of the dead to pave the path of righteousness." The Spartan detains his many enemies under the rules of the Antarctic Treaty. Everyone forgets Section 3 of the Antarctic Treaty, but it states that prisoners of war must be treated humanely, except for all those times that was ignored. Io is throwing up in his spacesuit. That's what happens when you go from freefall to a dead stop. Humphrey mentions that the charm is actually an incense case that she gifted to children at a military facility. Io doesn't care about the incense. He wants to know what's up with Claudia. He now understands that he was assigned to the Spartan because of Claudia. They're using him. Humphreys mentions a man named Levan Fu. Sojo means High Priestess. This is his real name, and he was at the facility mentioned by the commander. He then went to the Abaoku sector where he found the Ryu's P device. He is using the Seikomu of the Ryu's P device to influence his people, and it is also rumored that he is using it to extend his life, though this isn't proven. Humphrey says Levan is a new type. Meanwhile, Claudia and the Alliance all cheer as they gaze upon Levan Fu in front of the Psychozaku. Daryl is preparing for launch. He is in his Akai inside of a Zok. The Zok Thunderbolt version resembles the Zok we saw in Lost War Chronicles. It has 6 pods, each with its own hangar which deploys Akais. 4 people operate this mobile fortress. Weapons include a head cannon, 8 megaparticle cannons, the iron nail claws, 4 missiles. The missile pods function underwater. They are looking for the Psychozaku. The Akais deploy. Wappas, Fat Uncles, and Foot Soldiers move in on the Alliance. The South Seas Alliance also uses Xannies. The RRF-06 Xanny Thunderbolt version is used by the South Seas Alliance. This version uses gem parts on a Zaku 2 body. This is out of necessity, rather than them trying to reverse engineer Zaku 2s like in the main UC timeline. It has something that resembles a Zaku 1 backpack. Weapons include a 120mm Zaku machine gun, a 280mm Zaku bazooka, and a Heat Hawk. The Akais move in and start taking out Xannies. They are skiing on the water. The squad finds an underground passage. Daryl and his team get bad intel and stumbles onto a dead end. However, the Alliance facility seems to be trafficking women. Some Zeon soldiers say, "Alright boys, let's save these women from being trafficked so we could traffic them." That is when an Akai flicks a dude. He flicks a dude. Oh, he's definitely dead. What an embarrassing way to go. You got flicked. It is Ensign Hickam. He says he will do the same to anyone who sullies the name of Zeon. They are looking for something. The squad raids and levels the facility. One Zeon Remnant commander seems to be quite the art collector / raider. The Akais take down a Zogok. They break into an oil rig and move in on foot. There is currently a storm. Daryl is saved by a comrade. There was a moment in the past where Daryl was suggested that he upgrade his artificial limbs, but he refused because they were made by Carla. Their contact is CPO Janice Haraway. We finally learn of Daryl's team. We have Fisher Ness, Sebastian Morse, Billy Hickam, and Pedro Garcia, who is the spy that Daryl saved last episode. Time for that drip. Janice says Daryl's radio and limbs are both antiques. Got him. They begin exploring this Nyanyang Alliance community in the hopes of finding the Psychozaku. The Alliance has this place on lockdown. This oil rig was abandoned by the Federation before the South Seas Alliance took control. Janice inquires about the mission, but Daryl tells her that it is better that she doesn't know too much of the details. Some men tell them. Chanting begins from the temple. Goofs and Dodais land. This happens to be Claudia. She brings the temple fresh children to groom. New war orphans. They're gifts from Levan Fu. The crowds get rowdy, and Daryl loses his scrunchie that was a gift from Carla. Claudia hands his scrunchie back to him and says that someone could fix his prosthetics soon. They all split up and head to the safe house. Daryl is starting to panic. He wonders if he will even be alive when Carla gets better. Remember, Sebastian and Hickam are getting close to the Psychozaku for their own needs. They want to see Daryl pilot the Zaku once again. Later that night, Daryl and his team sneak in and steal a bunch of data. Hickam kills 2 soldiers. They head out and split up again. and eventually meet up at the safe house where Hickam walks in on Janice having a bath. Nice! There's boobies in this manga! The Alliance investigates the murder of the 2 guards. They aren't sure if it is the Federation or Zeon. However, Levan Fu uses his new type powers to give orders directly into Claudia's head. And that will do it for this episode. The Nanyang Alliance functions like a collective, but how much of that collectivism is influenced by Levan Fu using the Reuse P device to manipulate the people? Next time, Claudia will find Daryl and his team at the safe house. Levan Fu tries to penetrate Daryl's mind, and the Spartans join the party. But that will do it for now, new types. Remember to upgrade your artificial limbs. It may save your life. Peace.